You and I, well, mostly me, have been going to a lot of conferences recently. And part of that process is always interesting because we get to see what the latest and greatest educational technology is.
Right.
And we are typically skeptical of educational technology because they tend to center, sadly, tracking, surveillance, ways to control people as opposed to ways of bringing people together. That's not to say that all educational technology is bad. It's just that it seems like the good ones are few and far between.
Right. Our perspective has always been that the approaches to edtech don't generally result in something new. It just means doing the old bad stuff faster or more efficiently, which is
And
not the
speaking of,
move we want.
the newest and latest trend has been
Uh,
harnessing artificial intelligence into the classroom. That artificial intelligence is being used to leverage everything that you just said, all the more problematic stuff when it comes to school. And specifically, the one that I keep seeing more and more of is AI grading software. And you can see it probably at the top of my screen. It might be blocked on as I have the tabs hidden on the stream, but there are like 10 of these I have open, maybe a few less.
okay.
And all I did was just Google AI grading software, and those were the on
Okay.
just on the front page. There are so many of these popping out of the woodwork. And I wanted to start with this article. This is from Intellimetric, which is a company that has an AI grading software, because I think it does a pretty good summary of explaining how AI companies are pitching this to teachers. And I should say, I had a conversation. We were recently at a conference, and I had a conversation with someone that co-developed one of these softwares. Nice guy, but this is basically what he told me. We kind of had an awkward exchange about the purpose of the software.
Right. So this is like the need for it. This is like, why would you do this instead of just the tried and true old ways,
Right.
the low tech
So
version?
to summarize, they talk about this as a way to save teachers time, to do things more efficiently, and give teachers a more manageable workload. So rather than exploring the systemic problem of teachers being deprofessionalized and not giving enough time to do their work, let's just offshore that work, if you will, to AI, and then it will just do it faster. There's a few things they outline in this article. They say that essay grading software is now acknowledged as an equal or better performer than expert human scorers because of consistency. So, something that was
Okay.
told to me by one of these AI guys is that as a teacher, you have biases both in terms of what you're looking for, but then also between teachers. So, like, the English teacher
Okay.
down the hall and the English teacher in the room are going to grade differently. And a benefit of using AI to score things is that it's always going to roughly score things the same way.
It's so interesting because I always viewed those things as a feature rather than a bug because I want to be reading my students' work differently because I'm going to probably teach things slightly differently than my colleagues, or somebody in another building or somebody down the hall.
Sure.
But then I have a relationship with my students too, so whatever it is that they're going to be communicating about, I'm going to want to interpret that through the lens and the relationship and the ways that I've taught, the ways we've interacted in the classroom, which are probably going to be different, not just from class to class on my own end. So I'm going to bring that to the table, but then also, from the teacher across the way.
It just assumes that the grades matter to begin with. I mean, organizationally, we're
Sure, sure.
proponents of portfolios and moving away from grades. I say, bring on the grade inflation, give everybody an A. Like, who cares? It becomes so irrelevant so quickly what grade you actually received. I would much rather focus on feedback and learning and actually getting kids to understand things as opposed to having yet another meeting about how my B is the same as your B down the hall. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter.
Would
Uh,
this be the appropriate time to bring in the fake Zizek quote?
Not yet.
It's evergreen.
Second thing they bring on here is speed. I think most educational technology does leverage this idea of efficiency, which
Right.
Zoe V has a great video on like the enemy of education is efficiency and the dangers of efficiency and thinking efficiently. And
Right.
that's been covered from a variety of different channels in terms of like, is the idea of time management itself a like kind of like a capitalist thing that's like programmed us in a certain way? I think there's something to be said about that. Like the idea of getting things very quickly is the antithesis of learning, right? It's not supposed to be fast. The human review process is supposed to be slow. That's why
Right.
it matters, because context matters.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing to say, I would always use tools that would do like multiple choice assessments. I would always use digital tools for that because that makes sense. There's a right or wrong answer. It's just going to run, the report. But for me, the important part was getting kids that feedback as soon as possible to make it, as immediate and actionable as they could, so they could use it to guide, their next steps in the process. So, we would use tools like quizzes or poll everywhere,
Now, you
and
know
some of
what's
those things.
interesting is
Yeah.
that when I was talking to these different folks that were creating these spaces, and I wasn't trying to be antagonistic. I was genuinely just trying to figure out like why are we doing this?
Right. Right.
And they almost all told me that this is actually an evolution of the multiple choice system. So like
Okay.
they see this as the Kahoot of extended response or essay questions.
The irony is, like, that's the whole point, is that so it's not.
Yes.
Why would you use the extended response or whatever, in lieu of a multiple choice if there's something as simple as a right and a wrong answer to it?
I think a lot of folks that are engaged in ed tech that are maybe in like the venture capitalist space see
Yeah.
line go up, things are more efficient, easier to do, therefore must be better. This is a very
Right.
McKinseyan way of thinking of the world. Whereas schools and the way that classrooms are supposed to work doesn't make sense within that hyper capitalist framework. It's intentionally slow and chaotic and complex. That's the that's the whole point. All of these pretty much, but this one specifically talks about this idea of being determined by experts, that the software understands like what it means to write expertly. And then they say, while humans score their accumulated and at times subjective knowledge of grammar and writing techniques, essay grading software takes into account the standards of a wide variety of scoring experts to allow for a more comprehensive perspective. I also think that this misses the point because it's all hyper subjective. Like, yes, there are rules, but those rules differ, like style guide to style guide, but also people bend those rules in a variety of different ways. Like, this is the reason why if you read an AI output, a lot of times the AI output doesn't sound human because it obeys the rules to a fault. Like, it doesn't sound like
Right.
how people sound because people don't act according exactly to the book. They do say, just to like put this in perspective, they claim that Intellimetric is the gold standard in automated essay scoring because it's used to
Ooh.
score the GMAT, common standardized tests. It scored 100 billion essays.
Old standard for K-12 district writing assessment is a very interesting, kind of marketing, only because what does that even mean? There's I don't have any way to evaluate or assess, the robo-grader, as such.
Well, let's look then at how this process could look. I brought up one of our own writings here as a demonstration. This is a thing that you and
Ooh,
I
okay.
wrote. This is actually the basis of our solar punk script, which I think the intro to this is fairly well written. I like the intro to this
Yeah,
one.
I think honestly, this piece might just be one of my favorites in terms of us as a team being able to distill a lot of ideas down into a single vision, which is oftentimes very difficult for us.
Yeah, which is why I'm about to cut a lot of what you just said. So, with that said,
Oh,
I'm gonna go into this, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this first, just in the Chat GPT. So I think we're both of the viewpoint. At least 3.5 because it's free. I think we're both of the viewpoint that there is absolutely nothing wrong with the concept of an AI giving you a first draft. We could use this to improve upon our writing. We use it to improve upon our writing all the time. If I'm writing a grant, I'll often put it into Chat GPT and say, "Hey, is there a way I can improve how this sounds?" And then see if there's any
right.
suggestions based off what it says. That's fine. But then, like, we also peer review things and look at things together, and like there's a human element as well. But let's just start off by asking like the basic chat GPT, and it says it's well structured and coherent, which is nice. Maybe I can ask it to grade it. I'm not sure. So it
Oh,
says, clarity. It seems inevitable that in the upcoming decades, our world will become an increasingly worse and uninhabitable place. Could be rephrased as it appears that our world will become increasingly uninhabitable in the coming decades. Which,
yeah.
yeah, it's not bad. I'm kind of with
I
them
don't.
there.
I mean, I like our sentence better, but
I-
taste is subjective.
Breaking up long paragraphs, grammar and punctuation. Just says generally, it didn't actually give us. Asking thought provoking questions.
You can ask questions like, "Do we have the willingness to challenge?" That is a question.
Yeah, this is literally
That's
what
a
we asked.
question that is in.
Uh, Consider adding subheaders, write carefully. It seems like generally they liked it, which is good. Can you give it a score out of 10? I don't actually know if this works.
Interesting.
I don't assign numerical scores. It's subjective. Well, thank you, ChatGPT, for recognizing that you're subjective.
Note here real quick that a lot of the feedback was just like structural, like copy editing stuff.
Yeah.
This is like the most basic kind of things that a lot of word processing programs like Google Docs, where we do a lot of our writing, actually they do that. And sometimes they do use AI to suggest words or phrases that might follow some things or, use algorithms to detect grammar malfunctions and all of that. But it doesn't really give us a lot of feedback on I don't know. We tried to use a lot of interesting tools within that repetition, vivid imagery, some other communication devices, I suppose, to try and get our message across that I feel like we were pretty effective of.
Let's then dive into one of these AI tools and see how it goes. As a heads up, I haven't seen which one of these I can actually get a free demo of and not, so we'll see. So this is CoGrader. It says that it's used by over 1,000 different schools and that teachers like it and it integrates with Google Docs. This one shocked me because seeing it in demonstration, it actually provides numerical grades.
So this is the main dashboard where teachers see their classes. For each class, they can see what assignments they have co-graded in the past. So let's try to co-grade one assignment. With one click, they can import from Google Classroom. And it will come with the class, the assignments, and the rubric. All of this comes directly from Google Classroom. We import it, and then we review the assignment question. We can review the rubric if needed, or we can just continue. Again, this comes from Google Classroom most of the time. They can also build their own rubric in CoGrader if needed, and we have some templates for them to do so. And they can add additional grading instructions to complement the rubric. We provide some instructions on how to write good grading instructions and why it's important. So let's move.
So in this case, they say focus on giving feedback for narrative techniques, words like imagery, figurative language, setting metaphor, dialogue, tag and beat, theme, tone. The essay should be written at 11th grade level with control of appropriate sentence level grammar and punctuation.
Now we're comparing the students' answers with the rubric and the grading instructions, and we're going to come up with feedback for the students and grading. So let's start reviewing. Now it's the teacher's job.
So then it says on the screen before you hit start reviewing, and we've covered this in our AVI videos in the past, that like people tend to ignore these warnings. But it says that be mindful of grades that are either too high or too low. Be aware of your own biases. If a grade doesn't seem to align with your assessment, don't hesitate to provide feedback and request a regrade from CoGrader. But now
Interesting.
here's what freaks me out about this software, and all of them are pretty much like this. This is not I'm not trying to just like go after a CoGrader. It's just conceptually this idea is, so we have
Right.
Brian here. Brian is already filled out at a 70 out of 100 with different parts of the element. And you can see that they have some feedback here from the AI. And it's a medium AI content risk. And it just says like
Ah,
you have a clear claim about the theme of the novel. Your claim can be more compelling and purposeful. The structure and organization of your answer could be improved to better support your claim. But like that's not okay. So let's separate this into two parts. Let's start by just talking about the fact that it gives a numerical grade, and then we'll talk about the actual quality of the feedback. Does that make sense?
yeah. I'm also very curious what the former singer, rest in peace, former singer of AC/DC is doing in a high school English class, but maybe that's a little bit off topic.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah. Oh God, he's still alive. Okay, hold on. Brian Johnson is still alive. Sorry, I don't mean to prematurely announce his death. All right, sorry, Chris. Go ahead. He's still alive as of
Okay.
November 20th at 12:16 p.m. Central Time.
Okay. All right. Fingers crossed, Brian. Hang in
Now that
there.
we got that cleared up.
Anyways, so the issue that I'm like really freak out about when it comes to the software is not necessarily the feedback portion, although huge caveat, I don't know how useful the feedback is specifically in this case. The main issue that I take with this is the number, because the way that this is going to be utilized, despite claims to the contrary by these different companies, is that I'm going to see this and hit check mark and then move on to the next one, because the whole point is to speed up the things that I'm doing. And essays already, in many cases, feel quite pointless to the average kid because they're fridge door assignments. You do them, they don't go anywhere. You get your grade, you put in your backpack. That's it. If you get an A, you might feel happy that you didn't fail. And if you got anything lower than that, you're like, well, that sucks.
Well, here's the deal. You get a 20 out of 30. Say that it can be used for iteration to say like, okay, so now take that feedback and improve upon it. What do I do? Well, me as an educator, I don't know what you did because I didn't read your essay. You can't, that's not very specific. You don't really know how to change it or what the direction to even begin. So as an educator, I have to go through and read their essay anyway if I'm going to give them meaningful, actionable feedback about what next steps to take to improve upon their writing, right?
And speaking of, if we look just at the claim here, you introduced a clear claim about the theme of the novel being honesty, honor, and forgiveness. Your claim could be more compelling and purposeful. The structure and organization of your answer could be better improved or better support your claim. That's not actionable feedback, right? Like, what does that imagine that you're a kid and you read that. That does not give you anything that you can actually do with it. That's not useful feedback at all. Like, there's nothing specific about, I'm looking at this paper over here on the right, and I'm trying to figure out. So the theme is about the novel being about honesty, honor, and forgiveness. And it says forgiveness is shown. There's not a thesis statement. It just opens up with all three of these claims are shown in the thing. And that, I think they're referring to the title.
Right.
But I mean, maybe
And it
I'm
just
old
goes
school,
right into it.
but typically you include your thesis statement in the first paragraph. Usually it's the last sentence of your first paragraph. It doesn't have to be. That's usually the way it's taught. But at some point, we should have the claim in the first paragraph and not in the title of the paper. And I feel like that would be a pretty important thing for the AI to catch here when it comes to the claim.
Go to ChatGPT. Let's have ChatGPT write a 5-paragraph essay on the themes of honor. I forget the other two things. We just asked ChatGPT to do my 8th grade English homework for me.
Yeah. And then I could simply replace some of these words and probably just fool the thing into thinking that it's not AI.
Plug it into the
I'm gonna be,
robo-grader, and
if I'm a kid and I know that my teacher is using this, I'm gonna be even more likely to cheat. You're not even
that's
gonna
what
look
I'm
at my
saying.
paper.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? Who cares?
Well, here's the
Let's
deal,
keep going
right?
through. Yeah, good.
If you know that it's going to be graded by the robo-grader, give the robo-grader what it wants, which is stuff written by other robots. So,
Right.
so just feed it.
I would even say, like, imagine this paper got a 20 out of 30 on its claim. It says that the claim needs to be more clear in the first paragraph, or whatever it might say. Can you rewrite this? There you go. And they just improved
my
that
God.
first paragraph for us, and it sounds a lot better than it did. Like, we're learning, kids. So let's keep going with this video.
What co-grader suggested as the grade and the feedback for the student. We also let them know whether it's likely that the student used ChatGPT or another AI to answer the question.
Chris, I so wish that we could use this to plug in our essay that ChatGPT just wrote. Oh.
Also, please note, and we might test this here in a second, but We did another video on this before where we talked about how those AI detection softwares are BS. And as the technology improves, it's only going to
Right.
get worse. Like the chances of AI being able to detect AI is going to get more and more difficult to the point where it's a losing battle. We should be exploring this issue in other ways.
We're going to go criteria by criteria and tell the student what they did well and what can be improved, as well as an overall.
Overall, your answer shows a good understanding of the theme of honesty, honor, and forgiveness in the Crucible. You have provided examples from the text support your analysis. However, there are some areas where your answer could be improved. Let's go through the criteria. Like, sadly, that's just not good feedback, right? That's just a summary of what the categories said, but this doesn't say anything specific about the paper.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. Like,
Yeah, and this is just a really long way of writing good job. Good
yeah,
job, C comments. But I just think about, like, what do teachers do when they give feedback on a paper? If they are, like, genuinely trying to help kids be better writers, there would be, like, 20 comments on this thing that go through specific parts of the paper in a Google Doc. And it's going to be, I feel like this really just dumbs down what teachers do and deprofessionalizes teachers. Like, it's giving
yeah,
a 10 out of 10 on style and convention and says that you're doing like, a good tone, you have English conventions of usage mechanics, but you could improve minor errors in grammar and punctuation. And the thing that stood out to me on this, which I thought the AI would catch, is that it actually is really bad grammar and spelling. Like, this thing was not run
yeah,
through a spell check before it was turned in. If I were grading this, I would say, please use the built-in spell check feature to check what's going on. I wouldn't go through and correct all this, but I
yeah.
mean, look at this. The Crucible isn't capitalized. Abigail spelled wrong and also isn't capitalized. There
Oh,
are
that's really
numerous
funny.
times where there's no
By
spaces
John
after.
Proctor's name. Look at
Yeah,
honor is shown by John Proctor's name. There's not even an apostrophe there because
right.
he
Proctor's not
doesn't his
capitalized most
name.
of the time. Most of the time,
Oh
there's
my
not spaces
gosh.
after periods. There are many, many, many different grammatical and spelling errors here that if I
Yeah,
were going to be giving a grade, I would not give it a 10 out of 10. But like regardless, in a
right.
class that like mine, where we didn't give out grades in this way, that we went through multiple layers of feedback, I wouldn't take this paper until those things were fixed. I would hold it to a higher
Yes,
standard. Like I would never
yes.
say that's a 70 out of 100. This is good. Like, no, that needs to be improved because to anyone in a professional field, if they were reading this, they would be like, this sucks. Like this needs work.
Right.
Um,
That's exactly what I was
yeah,
gonna say. I would just say, "Hey, there are some things that are great with it right now, but you need to go back and fix the structural things first. Like, look for, capitalization, look for spelling, look for punctuation, and then have students resubmit it once they've fixed all those things." I wouldn't even give it a grade until they've resolved the mechanical that's the floor, right? To get your assignment looked at is to make sure the mechanics are up to snuff.
Feedback on how they did. Teachers can edit all of this, including the points and the comments. And then we're going to go student by student.
it's interesting that the claim here is nearly identical, if not identical. So what's interesting is that this is the same feedback, but they put doing well, your claim could be more compelling and purposeful. Is that not? If I go back to the previous one. Yeah, it's the same language, but just moved up to doing well, but like the language is still implying that it could be improved. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the exact same 3 sentences, but they moved this one down. That is the same as this.
Like, I'm thinking of the conventions that you and I use, Chris. Usually when we do like single point rubrics, right? It's kind of like you either get it in the sense that you hit the standard, right? So that would be like you got it. And then there would be the can be improved part where we would give the feedback on it. So this is kind of like a more convoluted sort of version of that where the
Right.
feedback isn't even useful. You've gotten the letter grade, but the feedback isn't even that useful for you.
The issue that we're taking with this is not necessarily that AI is giving feedback because that's fine. It's the numerical notion of it. It's the dehumanization of it, of taking the human out of the picture in a major way. Can I edit this? Yes, but that's not, it doesn't seem like that's how it's supposed to be used, right? If the purpose of this is to speed things up, if the goal was that I would go through this entire thing and give feedback on it anyway, then why am I using this platform? But
Right.
on top of all of that, the feedback that it's giving isn't even good. Like the feedback itself kind of sucks. This is not useful information. Rough transition here, but we need to have a brief ad break.
So why a donation drive? Well, by being upfront about our budget, We aim to build trust and foster a strong community of backers who share our vision. We believe in the power of openness, and with your contribution, you're helping us maintain this organization and continue to restore humanity to education. Here's a quick summary of our financial situation. Our income sources are donations, grant funding, and professional development. We don't generate a profit on our other endeavors like our conferences, resources, and videos. We're funded through 2024, but are currently reliant on potential grant funding to stay afloat. Our only major expense is payroll. The only 2 full-time employees at HRP, Nick and Chris, each make $55,000 a year. And last year, 92% of our funding was used toward expenses. That's payroll, website fees, transcription services, and more. In other words, every dollar counts. Human Restoration Project is a 501c3 public charity, and your donation will receive tax deduction benefits in the United States. Our EIN is 84-375-3948. As a bonus, all donor gifts are produced by Raygun, ethically sourced, sustainably made here in the Midwest, and the largest union clothing chain in the United States. And as I can vouch, the shirts are also very, very comfortable. So thanks so much for watching, and thanks for your donation.
So I'm signing up here for, this is essaygrader.ai. This one we can actually use.
Perfect. I can't wait. I'm very excited.
Persuasive essay, high school level. I haven't created a class. It's going to be a paper on solar punk. Oh, there it is. View essay. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see how we did. So it goes through. We got a B plus.
Okay.
I did that very, very kid style to scroll down to the end. The essay demonstrates a strong understanding of speculative fiction, reflecting and shaping societal concerns with a more explicit thesis statement and deeper analysis of specific works. The essay could achieve an even higher grade. Well, to be fair, they only took the intro. It says it could benefit from a more explicit thesis statement, consider incorporating more specific examples, ensure that each paragraph contributes directly to the central argument, maintaining a strong focus on the relationship between speculative fiction and societal change.
It's a B plus. If I got that grade, we would just say, hey, that's great, moving on.
Yeah, it is a B plus. I will say that the actual feedback is a little better, even though it's not completely accurate. This is kind of like, I mean, ostensibly, this is what ChatGPT output when we put in information, just kind of like a list of general suggestions.
And here's the deal, like for students to just do this on their own, you just create a free account. Hey, upload your thing, make some changes based on the feedback. Okay, fine. I think that's great. You know, I wouldn't take the grade at face value if I was the educator or the student, but I might take some of those suggestions, grammatical things, try to help those make more sense. But yeah.
And do note that this is being pitched as a way to replace grading. On average, it takes a teacher 10 minutes to grade a single essay. With Essay Grader, that time is cut down to 30 seconds. Like it is meant to replace grading. There's a built-in AI detector. I wonder if it works. Should we test that really quick? What if I go to ChatGPT 4.0? The paid.
You gotta up the ante.
Write a 5-paragraph essay on the issues of poppets in the Crucible. I'm gonna need to ask it for a title here in a second.
Whoa.
Symbols of fear and manipulation, the role of poppets and Arthur Miller's The Crucible. That's a badass title, man.
I will tell you, if I got that title on a kid's essay, I would know that they didn't read it because that's too good. Or they didn't read it.
Successfully added
okay,
the
you're in.
Queue.
You're in.
Just gotta wait for it to run it through ChatGPT on its end.
When are you going to show the Zizek quote? When?
Symbols of fear. Here we go. Was this written by AI? B minus. Oh no, overall. It said I got a B minus on sensory detail. It
okay.
Does each one?
Oh, sensory detail.
Essay errors.
Take an A minus.
Maybe the free version doesn't have the AI detector, but like we are truly in a. Let's show the Zizek quote.
Thank you. All right. So this is not an accurately sourced quote, but it makes the point well enough, right? Imagine Slavoj from. Yes. Imagine Zizek's his bulldog kind of cadence here. That AI will be the death of learning and so on. To this I say no. My student brings me their essay, which has been graded by AI, and I plug it into my grading AI, and we are free. While the learning happens, quote unquote, our super ego satisfied, we are free now to learn whatever we want. and that's really the model that we just did, right? The student has ChatGPT write their essay, the robo-grader grades it, they get an A minus, everybody gets to move on. It took 30 seconds for the kid to write, it took 30 seconds for the teacher to grade. Meanwhile, we can all just move on with the rest of our lives. Like, what is the point? What is the point of education? What is the point of school? What is the point of being a teacher and a student if this is the outcome of our educational system?
We'll let this run in the background. I did tell ChatGPT to fix it based off the feedback that we got. But
Oh, see, that's great. Oh
just
my
to
God.
show a
Just
few more
have
other ones here, here's a AI grader by
oh,
Copy Leaks. What an awful name for it. This one,
copy
evolving
leaks.
technology, works in multiple language. It can scan
Makes it
physical
seem like we're on the dark
exams.
web.
Next, we have Smodin.
Why do these have the worst names of any tools imaginable?
Okay, so it's like the same thing. Is there any reason for me to keep throwing our essay into random AI graders?
Maybe.
Okay. Plagiarism AI detection. Oh, let's see. Will this one catch it? Detect. It's likely human. It's only 11% chance.
Wait, that's our Crucible thing?
That's
The
our
Crucible thing
Crucible
that we had
paper.
ChatGPT 4,
We
right?
did it, guys. We beat the
Wow.
system.
Okay.
I'm such a good writer.
Wow. How
0%
accurate.
likeliness for that conclusion. There's just no chance.
91 look at the bottom. 91% of AI documents are considered AI content. 99% of human documents are considered human. That should be the title of this thing. We fooled the robo-grader.
It wasn't very hard. I didn't even like have to edit anything. Are we gonna do any better this time? I asked ChatGPT to fix the exact thing that it said that I didn't do well. All right, how we do? Oh shit! You see, we got an A.
We got an A.
We did it, guys.
We got an A on our paper, and it
We're
took
so
us.
good.
Well, neither of us have read the Crucible,
Neither
so
of us have read the paper, for that matter. I have no idea what's in the
that's true.
paper.
Yeah,
I didn't
but look
even
at
know
that.
until you corrected it for me that puppets were even a thing. I thought it was puppet. So
Look at all the time that we saved. We don't have to read the Crucible.
yeah.
We didn't have to write an essay about it, and we got an A just by plugging it into largely freely available online tools.
Do you
So
think our
that's
paper did
excellent.
well here too? It was written by humans, so uh
That's true. Just
homework.
plug it into all of our grading tools.
Omni is the most accurate AI homework solver on the market. Wait, so is this company both working on both sides of the double agent? Type your homework question in the search box and look for your answer. Share your answer with your classmates. It's marketing itself as both a tool that can rewrite your stuff. See, there's like rewriting, as well as a tool for teachers to grade content. But yeah,
Okay,
just to
we
summarize
did it.
here, there's what is this one?
More
Protect
value
and
to your
increase the
collection.
value of your collectible cards using the latest tools by AI grade. Oh, this is like AI like grading, like
Oh, this
grading
is
cards.
evaluating.
Yeah.
This is like
Okay.
Antique Roadshow.
Okay, forget that. Well, anyways, here's another essay grade. Um, yeah, and then
That's really funny.
progresse. Progresse. That's pretty proggers, as the kids would say.
Progresse sounds like a fancy marinara sauce or something, like Progresso.
Tasty. So yeah. I mean, in summary, there's like a billion of these, but like I think it's important. Like all of these folks are saying like 100,000 essays graded, used by 1,000 plus schools. Like these are like really common things. These are not just like some fringe random thing. This is something that people are actually using, and just how
Well, I
ridiculous
think
it is.
important to point out exactly what we just did in the last couple of minutes here, which is that these AI tools are really playing both sides of the equation, right? They're contributing to the AI arms race on the front that, has students turning to it to generate their essays that then they will provide the AI grading tool to teachers to have them read and score and give feedback on. So it's really just amplifying the least humanized parts of the education process. We should be working towards a more humanized education system. Sorry, whereby we're using a critical lens to evaluate the role of AI tools in these processes, and we're doing the human part of the writing and the reading and the feedback.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could do if that was the emphasis of school instead of the reading and grading part. What have you done here?
Well, I mean,
Okay.
just to summarize, the probably 3 major reasons that we covered throughout this video is that there's just that lack of nuance and contextual understanding. It just takes out the personal feedback element entirely because, you know, we're literally doing the Zizek quote. And there's also like the fairness issue, like whose side of the story is being told when an AI is looking at that paper. And obviously, like here I have ChatGPT just summarizing exactly what we did in this video and kind of getting it itself is creating a software that automatically grades student work and makes it easier for teachers to quickly grade assignments in seconds a good idea? The idea of automated grading software has appealing benefits in terms of efficiency and consistency. It's important to be cautious. The tool to assist, not replace, requires subjective judgment and personalized feedback. What if the goal of the software was just to quickly assign grades to a class in seconds, removing the personalized element? Is that a good
What if
idea?
it's like, this is not advisable from
If the goal
any
is
reason?
entirely, several concerns arise: loss of educational value, overemphasis on
Okay.
grades,
Perfect.
potential inaccuracy, reduced teacher involvement. What else we got?
Great.
Ethical and equity concerns. It does raise significant concerns, which is very funny. Just like in summary here, when we look at Essay Grader, thousands of teachers use Essay Grader to manage their grading load every day. On average, it takes a teacher 10 minutes to grade a single essay, while Essay Grader, that time is cut down to 30 seconds, a 95% reduction in the time it takes to grade an essay. So, same results too, FYI. So,
Great. We did it. We
we
did
did
it,
it,
guys.
guys.
We now and again, it's not efficiency towards any other kind of purpose, right? It's
Right.
not, oh, you've freed up 90% of this time now to do what? Like play games on your phone? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's saving us time to be able to do other than just like, hey, it's a time saver. Like the learning process is the whole purpose, right? Like it's fine if that takes time towards a valid goal, but if we don't view the feedback process as being the important thing that we want to spend educational time and resources on, then we will want to make it more efficient so we can go do other things. What are the other things that we're doing if we're not giving feedback and learning from the feedback itself? It just undermines the whole point. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and write a comment, feed it into ChatGPT, and see what kind of grade it gives you. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.